Hey guys, my name's Dan, and today's reaction comes from Dead Meat. This is Candyman 2021 Kill Count. Now, I gotta be honest here, I never saw the original Candyman movie, so the only thing I really have to go on in this is the Candyman game. That was kind of a big deal when I was a kid. All my friends used to try to get me to play it, but I was having no part of that. I did not want to know whether it was real or not, and then after watching this movie, it sort of justified my fears in that, and I'm very curious to see what Dead Meat has to say, and then at the very end I'll give up my overall opinions and talk about some things that I liked and things that I didn't like. But before we get into it though, for those of you who are new, I put out reactions every single day. I react a bit of everything, including many more from Dead Meat, so if you like what you see today, you're bound to find more things that you enjoy, so please go right below this video. Let me know, did you ever play the Candyman game? Click that like button, the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell. All those things really helps out my channel, and then head on over to Dead Meat's channel if you haven't already. I'll leave a link for that down in the description, and without any further ado, let's go.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Candyman, the requel released in 2021. The original Candyman came out in 1992 and is probably the best early 90s horror movie. I hold it in my top 10, maybe even 5, due to its romantic story, layered themes, wonderful cinematography, beautiful score, and of course, the unforgettable performance by Tony Todd as Candyman.
Sounds like I have to go watch it now.
Candyman 2 was mostly forgettable, and the third one was a frickin' disgrace, so I'm glad this latest installment chose to ignore them and be a direct sequel to the original, as is the trend these days. This Candyman was co-written and directed by Nia DaCosta, her second feature film after 2018's Little Woods. Her next movie is The Marvels, which will make her the youngest director to helm a film in the MCU. She is in fact 6 months younger than me, which, yes, is a weird thing to realize. I got issues with this movie, but DaCosta's direction is great. From start to finish, it is filled with visually compelling shots that stick with you long after the amazing credit sequence ends. Working with co-writer and producer Jordan Peele, DaCosta crafted a Candyman that embraces social issues in a more overt way than the original did. The first film was full of social commentaries surrounding the setting of Cabrini Green and the tragic backstory of Candyman, but those ideas were sort of secondary, possibly because the director and main character weren't black themselves. Helen Lyle was a well-off white woman, and although she meant well, she exploited another community's story and heartache for her own benefit. This Candyman positions black characters as the protagonists, which mirrors the way black filmmakers reclaim the Candyman story for themselves. It's worth noting that The Forbidden, Clive Barker's short story that Candyman was based on, was set in the UK and dealt primarily with class issues. It was English director Bernard Rose who adapted the story to a Chicago tale dealing with race. While I think Rose did an excellent job, his movie told Candyman's story from detached academic white voices. DaCosta's film uses the legend to explore challenges facing black Americans in the past and today. In this movie, Candyman isn't a single individual. It's a moniker used by and applied to many, an idea that was already present in the first film.
I hear you looking for Candyman, bitch. Well, you found him.
While that does, sadly, mean there's hardly any Tony Todd as Daniel Robitaille, the original Candyman, I think the approach makes sense in a movie about shared experiences and communal memory. It's why one of the film's taglines was "Dare to say his name." It echoes "Say their names," a phrase used with regards to victims of police shootings.
People say Candyman, but they don't say the name of Daniel Robitaille or Anthony McCoy. Say the name of the person. Say Breonna Taylor. Say Jacob Blake.
I know that some people bristle at films with social messages, even though movies have always been political, but I encourage everyone to engage with and explore this movie's themes. In spite of its faults, it brings up a lot of interesting ideas that are worth further discussion. That's why I've included a link to the movie's official reading companion in the video description. Check it out, it's very informative. The great thing about horror is that it can be thoughtful and bloody. Let's embrace both those ideas and get to the kills.
Oh yeah.
The movie begins with a shadow puppet show of police brutality. Young William Burke here lives in Cabrini Green in 1977. It's a predominantly black housing project that police only visit when they're looking for suspects. While doing laundry, William sees a piece of candy come out of the wall hole. That's funny. The wall hole usually has healthier snacks. Right now the wall hole's spitting out a guy who looks like Candyman, at least in terms of overwear and number of hands. William screams, spurring the cops into action, and then we're backstroking down the street looking up at buildings and a title card card. These opening credits are a perfect inversion of the originals, which featured a top-down look at Chicago's highways as Philip Glass's score played. This sequence instead looks up, with the buildings disappearing into clouds. Yet it's so disorienting, I felt like I was watching them descend underwater or something. All the while, a new score plays, a much more imbalanced, dissonant piece than Glass's gothic melody.
Sounds really cool.
This Candyman score was composed by Robert Ike Aubrey Lowe, a fan of Clive Barker's work since he was a teenager. He was hired early on during Candyman's production and spent months working on the many layers of his score. He even used ambient noises recorded on location at Cabrini Green, so the music would feel congruous with the rest of the film.
The score and the sound live as a character in the film, which is something that's really important for me.
His music uses a lot of haunting vocalizations, some of which he recorded himself. Others were provided by his celloist, Hildur Guðnadóttir. 42 years later, the area around Cabrini Green has been gentrified. Living there now are artists such as Anthony McCoy, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, whose career has been straight bumpin' lately. He's friggin' new Morpheus. We previously saw him in Us, where he played Addie's dad in flashbacks, and he was also a delightful interview when he spoke to me about this film.
Nice.
Anthony's partner is Brianna, played by Tiana Paris. Her career is also on fire lately. I've enjoyed her ever since she was on Mad Men as Dawn, Don's receptionist.
Agreed.
While Anthony's a painter, Brianna's an art exhibit curator. Talk about vertical integration. A visit from Brianna's brother and his partner begets a conversation that yells out one of the movie's themes, historical redlining.
White people built the ghetto and then erased it when they realized they built the ghetto.
When that conversation gets awkward, Troy decides to tell a scary story.
This is a story about a woman named Helen Lyle.
Oh hey, I love this one! The story of the first film is recited through beautiful shadow puppetry. As we learn from Troy's retelling, the legacy of Helen Lyle has been besmirched. She is known as a killer of dogs and napper of babies, even though in actuality, Candyman did all of that and framed her to look guilty. As the story incorrectly stands, the stolen baby was rescued from Helen by the Cabrini Green residents. Helen then threw herself into the bonfire and died. When Troy's not busy spreading Helen Lyle misinformation, he's admonishing Anthony for the way his career has recently stalled out.
Anthony, get painting. My sister's not trying to support you the rest of her life. Put down those weights, pick up them brushes.
Well, first off, no to the weights thing. If I looked like that, I'd never not have a weight in my hand. And second, how are you supposed to churn out good work when you've got to deal with assholes like Clive the art dealer?
I want the Anthony McCoy of the future. I want the great black hope of the Chicago art scene of tomorrow.
For inspiration, Anthony turns to Cabrini Green and the Helen Lyle story. This sequence gives us an extended look at Chicago, but sadly, it's the only time the movie does that. The city felt like a character in the original movie. I wish it did in this one too. Chicago has been transformed in the past few decades, sometimes tragically when it comes to art, like what happened in real life with this church. The Northside Strangers Home Missionary Baptist Church had a mostly black congregation after Cabrini Green was built. In 1972, black artist William Walker painted All of Mankind, a mural referencing martyrs for social justice such as MLK, Malcolm X, Anne Frank, Gandhi, and Jesus. In 2015, with the surrounding area having been gentrified, new owners painted over the mural to make the building more marketable. It was a literal whitewashing of black history in service of commerce. This movie has a lot of little details like that, and sadly, the kill count isn't the best format to explore them all. I really recommend the podcast episode where we covered it. Chelsea did a lot of research, and we were able to talk long form about what does and doesn't work for us in the film. While photographing the building, Anthony gets stung by a bee. And knowing what happens with that sting, I hope those ants eat that bee alive. Shit gets nasty. Anthony heads to the Cabrini Green row houses, sitting in the shadow of Chicago's skyline. Though the units are almost entirely abandoned, Anthony does run into someone who lives nearby, William Burke, who we saw as a boy in the opening scene. Just like back then, Burke's still doing laundry. In fact, he owns a laundromat where Anthony asks him about Helen Lyle.
Helen Lyle was out here looking for Candyman. You ask me, I say she found him.
Burke tells Anthony that for him, Candyman was a guy named Sherman Fields, the Warhol dude. Fields earned his name by regularly giving candy to the neighborhood kids, but when a white girl was cut by a razor in her Halloween candy, Fields became a wrongly accused suspect. He was hiding from the police when Burke ran into him, and his scream brought the police inside. Burke witnessed the police swarm into the laundry room and beat Sherman Fields to death. This film's mindful of traumatic imagery and keeps the murder off screen, though the crime photo is shown on Anthony's phone a little later. The story of Sherman Fields strikes a chord within Anthony, who puts brush to canvas and paints deep into the night. When he's done, he presents his work to Brianna, a depiction of the violent death of Sherman Fields.
Over time, his name disappears and he just becomes
the Candyman.
Brianna's response sounds like something often said about this movie itself.
It's a pretty literal approach. Not much room for viewer interpretation.
Anthony responds that it also matters
fair.
how it makes her feel, and when she says it makes her feel painful, he knows his work has succeeded. He tells Brianna that Candyman is summoned by saying his name 5 times in a mirror. Like many black people I've seen discuss Candyman, from the movie's filmmakers to scholars like Tananarive do, Brianna doesn't want to mess with that shit one bit. Defying
Same.
her, Anthony says the name 5 times in their window reflection. That dude doesn't even know the box of beeswax he just opened up. It's the night of the art exhibit, and the place is packed, though no one seems interested in Anthony's installation entitled Say My Name. Maybe make it look less like a bathroom medicine cabinet, guy. One art critic engages with it, a woman named Finley Stevens, but she isn't too impressed by what she sees.
It speaks, all right. It speaks in didactic knee-jerk cliches about the ambient violence of the gentrification cycle.
Well, she seems nice. Anthony gets drunk and has a confusing conflict with some character we've never met before.
You goofy ass fuck. And you fucking hyenas.
I really don't know what happened in this argument, but at least
don't
Yahya
know
put
either.
in a funny performance here.
Yeah, I did, bitch.
Clive the art dealer and the intern he's sleeping with, Jerica, are cleaning up the gallery that night. Gotta say, these characters are a low point of the movie for me.
Let's do
Same.
it here, then.
No, I've been here all day.
Come on.
And why'd they name this skis bag Clive? That has to be a misplaced reference to Barker, a gentle, thoughtful man who deserves a better namesake.
Yeah.
As part of their foreplay, Jerica buckles them together and says Candyman's name 5 times in the mirror. But nothing happens, so maybe getting dry humped counteracts the Candyman spell.
So much for that.
Oh! Or maybe Candyman was just taking his sweet time to get to the throat slitting. Looks like Jerica's been Y2 slayed. Candyman appears in the gallery and uses his hook to tear apart projector screens in a really cool visual. Clive tries to unhook himself from Jerica's kink belt to get away. What the fuck is a Jurassic Park reference doing here?
I
Way to
don't
ruin this
know.
scene right when it was getting creepy. God, I friggin' hate Clive. His heel gets hooked and he's dragged away from the door back towards Jerica's body. The sound design swells as Candyman lifts him up by his throat, which is only visible in the mirror that's part of Anthony's
That's
art
pretty
piece.
cool.
Clive is killed off screen, though we see his body later after Brianna discovers it. The murders make the news, including the fact that the bodies were found in front of Anthony's work. Now, that shouldn't be the takeaway point, and yet,
They said my name.
yeah, that's fucked up, dude. Excuse Brianna for not finding that amusing. She's still haunted by the time her dad, who was also an artist, leapt to his death from a window right in front of her. This
boy.
previous encounter with tragic mental illness is why Brianna's concerned about Anthony's behavior lately. But don't worry, girl. He's just chilling in the bathroom, hanging out with his mirror friend, who admittedly is a little off. Anthony's obsession with
Little bit.
Candyman sends him to the library, where he checks out their whole Helen Lyles section. I forget the Dewey Decimal number for that. The material includes Helen's audio recordings, which gives us a vocal cameo from actor Virginia Madsen.
I mean, it's clear that no one person makes this up. This grew from the community's collective subconscious.
Madsen only appears on screen in photographs, but I'm convinced they intentionally cast Finley Stevens and the librarian with actors who bear a resemblance to her. Despite having
could see
scary
that.
mirror experiences with Sherman Fields, Anthony continues his unhealthy fixation, painting his little heart out as he chews his own tongue. He meets with the art critic Finley Stevens, who's interested in his work now that it was mentioned in a murder story. He takes the opportunity to respond to her jab about artists and gentrification. He says the city is to blame for cutting off communities of color. They let the neighborhoods die, then build them back up and try to usher in a different kind of resident.
Hey, you artists, you young people, you white, preferably, or only, please come to the hood. It's cheap. And if you stick it out for a couple of years, we'll bring you a Whole Foods.
This is what really happened to the area around Cabrini Green, which is why the high-rises featured in the first film were demolished in the late 90s and throughout the 2000s. Finley excuses herself to use the restroom, and Anthony tells her she should try saying Candyman's name in the mirror.
I dare you.
We don't see it happen, but you can tell she gonna do it. While Finley is summoning and or peeing, Anthony comes across a full-length mirror in her hallway. It's perhaps my favorite part of the film as he finds himself staring at a reflection of the the Candyman Sherman Fields. Everything about this scene is awesome. The acting, the sound design, the surreal visual effects. Working with movement consultant Madeline Hollander, actors Yahya Abdul-Mateen II and Michael Hargrove developed a somewhat unnatural movement, but one that wasn't overly stylized. Finley snaps Anthony out of the experience, though it doesn't banish Candyman from all of her mirrors. Bet you didn't even peep that one back there,
Yeah,
did
I saw
ya?
that.
Anthony did, so he leaves in a hurry. As the camera zooms out from Finley's apartment, we watch as she's attacked by an invisible assailant. She's lifted into the air and dragged across her window,
Such a good
the
scene.
blood leaving behind a sort of painted line. It matches the earlier shot of Anthony's first stroke painting Sherman Fields.
Oh.
Anthony goes to a dinner with Brianna and some art folk, where he
Didn't even notice
picks
that.
at his increasingly nasty hand wound from the bee sting. This is
Go to the hospital, dude.
meant to be a metaphor. Anthony's picking at a scab and uncovering past injuries. Dinner is interrupted by news breaking about Finley's death.
I have to go.
Anthony.
Hey man, that is a great way to make yourself look suspicious. He heads to William Burke's laundromat and hears the extended history of Candyman. Turns out there are a lot of Candyman, all black men and a boy who were killed in hate crimes regularly committed throughout our nation's past. The first was the Candyman we know and love, Daniel Robitaille, who was killed in the 1890s. In real life, these Candyman portraits were done by Chicago-based artist Sherwin Ovid. Daniel Robitaille's is the most clear, while the others grow more abstract to represent Anthony's mental decline. Ovid started with acrylics, then moved into heavy oil painting to give the paintings
Very
a more
well done.
textured, almost sculpted look. One of the really cool things about this movie is that it showcases art from black artists in Chicago. Cameron Spratley was commissioned to make Anthony's earlier works, and all of the pieces seen at the art show were chosen by Chicago-based art consultants to create an authentic representation of
That's
the city's
cool.
art scene. Burke tells Anthony about the OG Candyman in another beautiful puppet sequence. Daniel Robitaille's backstory is mostly unchanged from the original film. He was a painter who fell in love with a rich white girl, and after she got pregnant, her dad sent a lynch mob after him. They cut off his hands, smeared his chest with honey, and finally set him on fire. These puppet sequences were done by the Chicago-based company Manual Cinema, led by line producer Julia Miller. The segments are entirely analog, using paper cutouts and lighting tricks. The
That's so
detail that
cool.
goes into them astonishes me, like how they use different materials to achieve different levels of transparency, or how they use real fire for lighting. DaCosta was inspired to explore this medium thanks to the work of Kara Walker and Lottie Reniger. At first, the puppet style was chosen as a way to do flashbacks without using footage from the first film. In time, the filmmakers realized it could be used to depict historical tragedies in a sensitive way.
Horror is all about trauma, but that doesn't mean you need to witness that trauma visually every time you go to a horror movie with a black cast.
All of this ties into how Candyman is a way for the black community to deal with the cycle of victims they see every generation.
I wish that Candyman didn't have to exist.
Burke points out to Anthony that although they're part of the legend now, all of these so-called Candymen were real people who were really killed.
Candyman is how we deal with the fact that these things happen. That they're still happening.
Just as with plenty of real-life victims, these Candymen became unintentional martyrs.
Victims are turned into something other than what they are. Eric Gardner, his name became weaponized, became part of a culture, became part of a movement, part of a mobilization.
Brianna finds Anthony's series of Candyman paintings. He takes a Frank Cotton approach to his work.
Don't look at those!
Looking quite unwell, he says that he accidentally brought Candyman into reality. He violently breaks mirrors to stop Brianna from saying Candyman's name. That understandably scares her, and she officially pieces the fuck out. Now it's time for a really random scene that I half think was only filmed for the trailers. A high school girl who was earlier seen at the art exhibit convinces a flock of her girlfriends to summon Candyman in the bathroom mirror. Well, she convinces most of them. The non-white one wises up and gets out. The others finish saying his name, then to make sure we don't like him, bully a black student. While she stays safe in a stall, the summoners reap what they hath sown. The first is killed with a drippy blood fall from the sink area. The others are heard getting killed off screen or seen in a compact mirror, which lends itself to an awesome shot of Candyman floating above the floor.
It is pretty cool.
Anthony's bee sting has now spread across a large portion of his body. It is so fucking gross to look at. I hate seeing rashy skin stuff like this. It's disgusting.
Yes,
it
it
gets
is.
so bad that he heads to a hospital, where a nurse
Finally.
mentions that his records show he was born in Cabrini Green. That comes as news to him, so he visits his mom looking for answers. His mom is Anne-Marie McCoy, played by Vanessa E. Williams, reprising her role from the original movie more than 25 years prior. Holy good goddamn does she look good. Williams is 56 here. Are you freaking kidding me?
Seriously.
Anthony confronts his mom about Helen Lyle and the legends surrounding her death.
Something they used to call Candyman.
It's like, nope.
Don't say that.
She admits that he was born at Cabrini Green and baptized in a bonfire when Candyman tried to steal him. This is confirmation that Anthony's the baby from the first movie, whom Helen Lyle saved before she died in the fire. The community let her take the blame, hoping no one would ever say Candyman's name again. But someone did, and now Candyman's back for Anthony. Even if it's not the same Candyman? Oh wait, no dude, don't leave her. We haven't had enough Vanessa Williams, come on! Anthony returns to the Cabrini Green row houses and kicks off a very strange ending. Rarely do I say a movie could be longer, but Candyman could have used an extra 10 minutes. The rest of it feels rushed as hell. Brianna finds a pen from Burke's laundromat and heads there to find Anthony. She gets locked inside a back room and taken captive in the background before anyone else can hear or help her. Then there's a flashback that comes out of nowhere and honestly feels kind of pointless. It shows Burke when he was a kid after Sherman Fields was killed. His sister and a friend summoned Candyman in the bathroom and Burke opened the door to find them dead, with Candyman peering at him through the mirror. The flashback cuts to modern day, where it's revealed that William Burke is a bad guy all of a sudden. He's got Brianna tied up in the Northside Strangers Home Church, and Anthony's sitting on a stool staring at a wall. What is he, under a spell?
Yeah, I guess I'm on some other shit now, huh?
Yeah, this movie.
Yeah, could have taken some time to explain that bit.
On some other shit right now. Burke wants to fight back against the people keeping their community down, so he's making the Candyman legend live on through Anthony, whose skin is a total fucking barf fest by now. These gross body horror effects were applied by the special effects team headed by J. Anthony Kozar. As you can imagine, it took a long time to apply to Yahya's body. It was so gross in person, his co-star Tiana Paris couldn't handle it. To make Anthony a proper Candyman, Burke saws off his hand while Anthony just sits there, silently shedding a tear. Burke fastens a homemade hook to Anthony's wrist, saying that each Candyman can have their own story, but it helps when they've got the big trademarks. You know, hook hand, cool jacket, maybe some actual candy. That's how you get Burke excited. The hook attached to Anthony's hand is different than the one Daniel Robitaille had, since this one was meant to be homemade by Burke. They had several versions on set for different purposes, but they could all be used to flip people off.
Imagine I was just giving you the middle finger, but it's just a hook.
Brianna manages to escape her bindings and run, but not through a doorway that leads to the outside. Nope, now she's in a dark tunnel all of a sudden. Man, this movie fell apart fast. She eventually surfaces from a storm cellar door and hides in one of the abandoned row house units. Burke follows her inside, but she ain't a weak-willed horror character. She stabs Burke in the side of the head and goes to town making sure that the dude is dead. She literally stabs him a full 20 times.
I think he's dead.
Yeah, but just gotta make sure, dude. I love how Brianna is unusually savvy for a horror movie character. Not only did she double tap the laundromat madman, she didn't want to hear about the Candyman story in the first place.
You guys want to hear a scary story?
No.
She also didn't want to fuck around with saying his name in the mirror, and when she first went to the laundromat, she avoided going into the basement. I think
Yep, she felt very real to me in that sense.
Everyone in this cast did a great job, but Tiana Paris brought a strength to Brianna that was essential.
I did get
Agreed.
to stab a foam head version of Coleman. I think I got a little carried away.
Now Anthony's more
sure
normal
did.
all of a sudden. Maybe because Burke died? Who knows? He collapses into Brianna's arms and winds up lying across her lap. He is in this very clearly passive position when the cops come in and immediately shoot him to death. I'm not sure how they managed those shots without hitting Brianna though. Seriously, I don't think that's possible. Brianna's put in the back of a police vehicle where an officer tells her she'd best go along with their story. They're gonna claim Anthony was charging at the shooting officer. If she doesn't comply, they'll get her locked up too. She agrees to lie for them, as long as she can look good doing it. Mind giving her that mirror? Looking into it, Brianna says Candyman's name 4 times. The cop unwittingly finishes out the quintet, and that means it's time for exquisite pain. 3 cops are quickly killed. The first stumbles out of a building already fatally injured, another is cut down after Candyman slowly walks up to him, and the third gets his throat slit right in front of Brianna, who stares straight ahead. Anthony McCoy is revealed to be the latest face of the legend. The Watchman has become the Candyman. His past personas cycle through the reflections in the car windows, showing that he's not just a man, he's the whole damn hive. He disappears and the final cop gets out of the car and flees. Brianna follows and peeks around the corner to find the cop getting gutted against a wall. She watches as Candyman, covered in bees, floats towards her above the ground. His face transforms into Daniel Robitaille's for a brief Tony Todd cameo.
Tell everyone.
After the tail end title card, we're treated to an amazing credit sequence. If you missed this, go back and watch it. It's more shadow puppets depicting the stories of all the other Candymans throughout history. I won't include their depicted deaths on the kill count since they're only shown in paper cutouts, but this shit is haunting and heartbreaking, especially with the music underneath. It's a wonderful merger of Philip Glass's melody with the atmospheric noises of Robert Ike Aubrey Lowe's score, a perfect synthesis to end the film. How many people did Candyman paint red? Let's find out and get to the numbers. 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 Huh.
I think we're okay.
Nothing happened.
No.
Ah! Whoa, it does work! I counted 17 kills in Candyman 2021. There were 8 female victims and 9 male, a pretty even split for this honey pie. Is that a thing? With a runtime of 91 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 5.35 minutes. I'll give the golden chainsaw for coolest kill to Finley Stevens. It's not super graphic, but I love the way it's framed.
Same.
Such a cool shot trucking out from the exterior of the apartment building. Dull machete for lamest kill will go to Burke's sister and her friend, done off screen in a scene that feels randomly inserted. And that's it. Candyman came out in 2021 and was the first film directed by a black woman to open #1 at the box office.
Nice.
Congrats to Nia DaCosta for that. I hope to see her return to horror sometime soon. Until
Agreed.
next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
Gather around, little meaties. Don't push and don't shout. For here's Christmas Evil, aka you better watch out. Young Harry loved Christmas, but just couldn't bear his mom's stockings being tongued.
Oh my.
With the sleaziest of care. Traumatized by the handling of his mother's nice rump, he started making cuts, both bloody and jump. After 30 years, he's still fucked up, it would seem, as he works to build toys at his job, Jolly Dream. Through spying and dancing, he prepares for the season, even dirt-kissing a naughty kid's house for some reason. With handmade Santa suit and one creepy-ass van, he goes to save Christmas from the hands of the man. Will his adventure succeed in this dark character study? It's much more psychological than booby or bloody. So give it a watch on our sponsor friend Shudder. Then tune in on Friday for the kills I will cover. And if you're worried the Christmas horror pool is petite, there's plenty of blood to be spilt on dead meat. Ho, 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 ho! Oh, we're almost done here.
Christmas Evil can currently be watched on the pictured streaming platforms. Demi always recommends you watch the movie for yourself before its kill count. It's the only way to have your own properly informed opinion. Kill counts are never meant to replace the experience of watching a film.
Thanks a lot for watching this Kill Count.
Okay, so, as I stated, never saw the original Candyman, so I only had this Candyman to go off of. And it wasn't a perfect movie by any means. But like he said, the ending felt a little bit rushed. I felt like they could have let the main character seep into madness just a little bit more, because that kind of felt like really rushed. And those 2 scenes, the one in the bathroom with all those girls getting killed, though the sounding of them getting killed without actually showing them getting killed was cool. It kind of felt like it was just randomly thrown in there. And also that other scene where he saw like his sister getting killed, that also felt thrown in as well. So we probably could have, taken those out and maybe thrown in some more character development. I probably would have enjoyed this movie a little more. But what I did enjoy, though, was the shadow puppets telling all the stories. The way it was shot and the way that they told it was really cool, was really well done. That one death scene with that woman who got the machete kill, that looks so cool because you're not really expecting it. Because, with a pan away shot, you normally don't see like anything going on. But like when they panned away, it's like, oh, there's some things going on. It's like, oh, all right, that woman's dying. Okay, then. So, was this movie good? I think so. I think you could give it a watch. Is it the best horror movie I've ever seen? No, but I think it's worth a watch, and I think it's something that a lot of people can enjoy from a horror movie aspect. So that's going to do it for me here. But before I go, though, I wanted to give a huge shout out to all my $5 and up supporters on Patreon. Marvin Espinoza, Cruising, Wolver 310, Lauren Davenport, Kester Cronage, Amber K, Angel Garcia, Nicholas Sawtell, Daquan Johnson, and my lone channel member, King Boo 336, PD909. Thank you guys for your continued support. It really does mean the world to me. And if you too like to have your name read at the end of each and every one of my videos, plus many other fun goodies, maybe react to a past kill count or two, please head on over to patreon.com/eatandreactor. The link will be right there in the description, or you can get it right below this video. Click that join button there, or head right over my channel page and click that join button there. And with that being said, comment down below. Let me know, what did you think about this Candyman? Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Also want to see past reaction to other Dead Meat videos. Got a nice playlist right over there full of them for you. Share this video. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Your notification bell because I put new videos every single day. And I'll see you guys next time.